Going to Montreal was a turning point for me. That was the big turning point. I ended up going to a place called Mariposa Le Cafe, and I would never have guessed that this would have been such a highlight for me. I didn't do any research on any of these venues. I just looked them up online and found out what day they were having an open mic. And then I just showed up if I was in town. But this one in Montreal, I can remember it so well. You open the door, you walk up the stairs, this long flight of stairs up. There's musical instrument cases everywhere, just up the stairs. And then you get to the top and the room is crowded. It's standing room only. It's super full. Just people sitting along the walls, tables in the middle. And everyone's quiet. They're engaged. They're respectful. They're listening. And it's just such a wonderful atmosphere. Victor LaBelle is the owner, and he's been running an open mic there for decades. It's the most professionally run open mic I've ever seen. The cafe is definitely a sought-after venue in the Montreal performing arts scene. And Victor LaBelle is such a nice man. Treated me well every time I've been there. And he really is a gem in my point of view for the Montreal local music scene.
Don't say that you've heard it all before. If you say that I'm selling out my soul, please put me in the middle of the road. Leave the roses for me. Thank you so much, Vic. Don't say that you've heard it all before. Nice t-shirt. If you say that I'm selling out my soul, please put me in the middle of the road. Leave the roses for me at my door. Fantastic.
The reason why Montreal was such a turning point for me, and the highlight for me, is because after I had performed, there was a musician who went up on stage and played, and his name was Jim Collette. He played such a fantastic version of Oh My Sweet Carolina by Ryan Adams. I was just in awe. But then after he was done his set, he was talking to the crowd, engaging with them, just banter. And he pointed out how he really respects songwriters and the craft. And he pointed to me, and he told me in front of everybody that I'm a fantastic songwriter. And he said that he would love to cover some of my songs. It just shocked me. I didn't know what to say. I said thank you and probably denied it, shaking my head. And I do remember telling him that I just wish I could perform songs the way that he can. It was an unbelievable feeling at that moment for me. It was the first time I ever heard somebody who was a musician tell me that I was a great songwriter. Telling an audience that he respects songwriting and the craft, that's one thing. But he didn't have to single me out directly and say this. That gave me such confidence from there on that I thought, well, I guess I can write songs. So for Jim Collette, he'll always have a special place in my heart because that was the turning point for me. After that, a lot of the musicians and the singers came and introduced themselves to me, and I made some good friendships. And when I was leaving, a lot of them had wished me good luck on the road, and I told them, I'll be back next week. I'm coming back to the next open mic. I don't want to miss this place. After I was done in Montreal, I had a few days off, so I figured I'd go to New England. Never been there before, so I figured why not? So I was driving through Vermont and went through Montpelier, or as the Quebecois call it, Montpellier. Then into New Hampshire, Concord, New Hampshire. I finally got to go to Boston. That's a city with a lot of history. The Red Sox, the Kennedy family, Boston Tea Party. It's a pretty amazing city. Salem, Massachusetts isn't that far from Boston, and there's so much history there. I had to go check that place out. And then really late in the evening, on the way back to Canada, stopped in Bangor, Maine. King of the road, man. So we're in Bangor, Maine. I just ran a fucking red light. I'd never been to the Maritimes either, so I thought that would be a good thing to add to the trip. New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. Prince Edward Island was awesome. I thought it was the most beautiful place in Canada. In the summertime, anyway. I saw the Atlantic Ocean for the first time. Stepped into it. I'm a wimp when it comes to really cold water, so I didn't go very far. But at least I went in there. Tried some ice cream at what's considered the greatest ice cream, or voted best ice cream in the world. And then played in Charlottetown that evening. Nova Scotia was next. I had an open mic that I could go to in Halifax, but spent the day in Lunenburg first. There was a bit of a concern though on the way back. The car started to vibrate, and it was coming from the rear. I pulled over and couldn't see anything. I knew something was definitely going to have to be done about it though, but that would have to wait till the next day, because Halifax was a while away and everything would have been closed by the time I got there. I'm not a mechanic, but I knew it was something of concern that I had to get checked right away. I played the open mic that night and called it an early evening.